o'clock. We'll do a pledge of allegiance, Joe. Oh, we'll do a call order. I do the call order, we'll roll call after. I'll do the pledge of allegiance now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Want to do a roll call?
Councilmember Robinson,
Here.
Councilmember Udvig,
Here.
Councilmember Bauer,
Here.
Mayor Feldman.
Here. Okay. All right, moving on to approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Councilor Bauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilor Robinson makes a second. Any discussion? If not, Joe, do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Bauer,
Aye.
Councilmember Udvig,
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson,
Aye.
Mayor Feldman.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to tonight's consent agenda. Do I have a motion tonight to adopt tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
All right, Councilor Robinson makes that motion. I have a second.
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilmember Udvig makes that second. Barring any discussion, Joe, do a roll call, please.
Mayor Feldman,
Aye.
Councilmember Bauer,
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson,
Aye.
Councilmember Udvig.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Meeting open to the public. Joe, do we have anyone?
Now would be the time for anyone who would like to address the city council for any items.
I just have one item to bring forward. My name is Tom Simsalzer. I live in Javaro, 23177 Javaro Street. I was just in Ramsey, and their council has decided to not enforce the mask mandate. So patrons within a gas station don't have to wear masks, but the employees do. And I was wondering if the council had considered doing similar things. I know that can be quite contentious what Ramsey City Council did, but I just wanted to bring that forward here because it seems like a reasonable path forward. But that's all I wanted to bring forward. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Okay. Well, I thank you for bringing that to our attention. We have not got a mask mandate here that I know of. Joe, do we? I think what we pretty much do is leave it to the businesses to do it themselves, as like Kings County Market, Quick Trip, and so on and so forth. So I don't know of any mandate that we've made unless we have in our policies that are there. Joe?
Our city does not have a mandate. The state has guidelines that issues or guidance for masks, and then whether private businesses choose to do that, I guess that's up to them.
Dave, is that about right?
That is correct. The city council has not issued any type of directive or made any type of policy in regard to the issue. It's been a state issue.
Does that clarify your question?
I think if I understand correctly, then patrons are free to do what they want to do within this St. Francis City Council limits, St. Francis limits. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that would be, like, again, up to the individual businesses that require them to wear it in their buildings. So like I say, again, Kings County Market has a sign when you walk in there says, masks are required. Yet I have seen some people walk in there without masks on, but that's up to them. Same with Quick Trip and other places that I've been to. So we just leave it pretty much up to the residents to do it on their own. And we've actually always gone through the state guidelines in following them, which is what we're doing here. So there is no St. Francis mandate by the city council.
All right, thank you. It clarifies it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Anyone else, Joe, for opening meeting up to the public?
Mayor, can I ask a question on that?
Of course you can.
Okay, I guess this would probably be towards Todd, but it is within county markets. If they have it posted that they require signs or masks, can they ask the person to leave and actually make them leave? Or is that just, they just have to let the customer go even though it clearly states?
Well, as a private business owner, they have the rights to refuse service and tell anybody to leave their property. It has been an executive order from the governor's office for quite some time. That's what they're talking about, referring to the state guidelines. And from an enforcement standpoint on that, we've always been soft enforcement on that, but that is an executive order from the governor, basically saying that masks must be worn indoors, businesses, et cetera, throughout the state. Some cities pay attention to it more than others, and some interpret it as a violation of constitutional rights. Whatever the case is, we do carry a soft enforcement standpoint on it, but it is part of the executive order. But yeah, business owners would have the right to refuse and tell people to leave their property if they weren't following their guidelines. So.
Right, but Todd, that's enforced by the state, though. I mean, we're not doing any enforcement at the local level here.
It is enforceable from a local level. We just choose not to enforce it. Some cities have issued citations for them offenses. Same with if we get a call at an establishment, a bar, and there's complaints about, people not sitting the appropriate distance away from one another, things like that. We have received calls on that. We have spoken to the business owners about that and just kind of educated them on the order. And that's pretty much as far as we've taken this executive order. But again, yeah, it's viewed differently city to city. So.
Right, but my point, by the way, is that the enforcement would actually come by the executive order of the governor in the state, not by the council in this city.
Yeah, well, again, it is enforceable. We could issue a ticket for it if we wanted to. We have been referring them back to the state, correct, for their if they want to enforce it that way, if they so choose. That is how we've been choosing to forward that on and enforce that.
Right, as I've said, I've been at Kings County Market, and I see them without mask on. They still get served, so I would just take it that's up to their ownership to deal with it. I would think at this point. I myself, and I can ask council about this and staff and that. Do you feel it's necessary for us to make a ruling on this at the local level, or we just go with the executive order of the state, which, in my opinion, I can live with that myself.
Yeah, I think we follow the state's lead on this. They've kind of been running the show for the last year. I think we continue to allow them to keep issuing their executive orders, and I don't know that we need to be making any headlines on the ordeal right now.
Right, and it's just like our closing of the city, the lockdown that we're doing, all that from the cases that we've had and now we don't have, which is good. That's based on the guidelines from the state too, by the way. So everything we're doing is based off those guidelines. So nothing that we're doing here at the local level. So what I appreciate if everybody, and I've just had my first shot of vaccine and I get a second one April 6th, and I'm still going to social distance and wear a mask and take it easy and precautious so this thing goes away. And I hope more people do that and we'll hopefully get past this sooner than later, which would be nice. But I know one thing, working together is the only way to do it. So do I have any questions from council on this at all? Or are we just pretty much going to leave it in the hands of the state as their guidelines?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say something. If we had more businesses that stated, hey, I'm losing business because of the mask mandate, I could probably lean towards how Ramsey. It's kind of, Minnesota's probably going to be the last state with the mask mandate. Me being from Texas already lifted that mandate. So, but I haven't heard of any businesses, losing business because of the mask mandate. So I again agree that we shouldn't do anything that against the state at this time.
All right, thank you, Rob. I just want to, I have not received any calls about the mask mandate other than what this gentleman brought to our attention here. So as any other, Kevin, yes or no, just shake your head to me. Or say anything else?
I'd like to say I'm in the camp of less governance, the better. So, and like Joe Coleman said, we don't need to make headlines if something's already out there. A business owner can choose to abide or not to abide. They'll be the one that pays the ultimate price if the state comes in and says anything or does anything. So, I mean, we see the numbers coming down. Things are changing somewhat. I've been to some establishments where it says, we welcome you as you are. They're taking chances. You have also the opportunity not to shop there or go there. So, but again, to me, less governance, the better. And I think as a city, we're doing just fine. And leaving up to the private enterprise to take care of what they've been, the rules they've been given and work within accordingly. And again, customers can choose not to be in those establishments as well. So.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Sarah, your comments on that? Okay, John, let me ask you something here at the liquor muni. What are you're requiring masks at the liquor muni?
We have a sign up, yes. For the first 3 months, we were very, very diligent about making sure that customers wore their masks, or we did refuse them. We did have masks on hand that if they wanted to. We've lightened that stance a lot. We did get quite a few irate customers because of it. But for the most part, we do still require a mask.
And do you find the majority of people are wearing a mask, or and you just always get that small percentage that doesn't, or how does it work?
Yes, it's a smaller percentage, but it seems to be the same people. So
Go ahead.
Nope, that's it.
No, and I understand. In my opinion, it's a small percentage that's taking this, going to delay this to go on longer and longer and longer, because the social distancing has worked, and in my own opinion, I'm just afraid that it's going to take longer to get this thing to go into a hibernation or gone. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But I am for I myself am for, and I agree with the other council members. I'm for the businesses dealing with it themselves. I think that's the best way to do it. So instead of another rule on top of another rule and causing us to have to enforce something that the police could do better in other situations than policing masks. I just don't feel like being a parent and telling everybody they have to wear a mask and force them to do it, because I think there'd be more headaches in the long run. It's up to business owners. Let them do what they need to do, and the repercussions they may face with the state if they have any. Any other comment anybody else would like to make on this at this point, or we can move on? Again, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I appreciate that. All right, moving on to new business. Number 9A, SCH proposal, America's Water Infrastructure Act, AWIA, Risk and Resilience Assessment and Emergency Response Plan continued.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I spoke on this about a month ago that this plan was going to be coming due. The plan was to attack it when we received our permit for the wastewater. That indeed went through. I apologize. I did not make the last meeting. I actually got stuck in a snowstorm in northern Michigan and didn't make it back in time. And it was my understanding that there was some questions that you guys needed some answers to, and we wanted a second quote. I did receive a second quote from WSB. They did come in cheaper. One of the things that I want to talk about is, this plan, there's a couple things. It's due June 30th. And you're probably wondering, why did it take so long to do it? I can't honestly answer. I wasn't here during that time. It may have been something that the old director had started. I don't know where he was at in the process. But I knew it was coming due, and I knew we needed to get it done ahead of time rather than run it right to the end. And part of doing a risk assessment, it takes a lot of time. There's been other cities that have attempted to do it on their own and failed miserably. This is something that's mandated by the state, and we want to make sure that we have our T's crossed and our I's dotted and everything done right. They do hundreds of these things throughout the year, and they know what to look for. They know the terminology to use to make sure that our plan is where it's supposed to be, so we don't have any questions, and everything is set to where it's supposed to be to meet the law. So I got a second quote. I did some research. I called around. WSB came in at not to exceed $14,750, and that is the plan and the assessment. Staff would be doing some homework with that, working with them, getting them the stuff they need, along with them coming in and doing their analysis on what we have. The main part of the plan is, it's quite extensive at first. You have to update your plan every 5 years, but once we have the main format in place, staff can then update it as we go every 5 years ourselves. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
All right, I thank you, Jason. I just want to bring up a couple things here. I don't think the council was questioning the need for the plan. I think we were questioning the fact that there was only one number on a bid for it. So what we'd like to see, and I'll speak for council, you can butt in on this if you disagree with it, but we like to get 2 numbers minimum, okay, on anything here. So we have something to compare to. We don't like to go by just one number and just saying that this company's it, blah, blah, blah. We'd rather have 2. And also, when you bring it back to our attention on a continued basis, you put in there both numbers on this, like, for instance, on the item 9A on the agenda, I had to go back to last week's packet to understand that it was 16,000 was a number from SEH, when you should put both numbers on the continuation so that we can compare it both, because it says WSB and SEH proposals, but it only gives WSB's numbers, not the other one. So just for future, if you do it again, put both numbers on the continued update so we can compare them then. But again, also for the future, a minimum of 2 on everything that you request from us, so that we know that it's been chopped out, so that we can tell the public we do our due diligence and homework, and we look at the numbers and look at the companies and vet before we give out the proposal to the company we decide on. Okay.
Understood.
All right, thank you. I'll give this all for comments from our city council. Sarah, your comments on this?
No, I'm glad that we did go ahead and get that second quote, because that's, every little bit helps. And so that was really the only questions I had on there, was just the fact that we only had one bid and Jason came through. So
Right, thank you. And as we asked Craig Yokin this last time, as far as there are other companies that do this, so we have familiarity with WSB and SEH also. So both competent companies. I'm sure this plan will work fine. And once it's in motion, like you say, it just went in effect 18. So by 2023, we'll be able to do any upgrades or updates on our own, which will be good. So I think again, I don't think anyone has a problem with the fact that the plan needs to be done. Rob, your comments?
I don't have any concerns really about it, I just like to throw out we got the population of under 10,000 and we discharge in a safe water, permit this and permit that, the state's just got to get, all these permits in line, and we have to find businesses that do that work and do it well. So I'm glad we got a second quote, but it's a necessary evil to make the state happy, so that the city runs correctly.
All right, thank you. Kevin, your comments?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Same as Sarah and Rob, we got the second number, that I'm satisfied that we're spending the money wisely. A little bit of Rob's take on it too. Again, there's some things that are mandated and they just tell you got to get it done, and we got to get it done. So looks like we have competent people at the helm, including Jason got that other number, and I'm good.
All right, thank you. Then do we need a motion on this, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do I have a motion to go with WSB for our America Water Infrastructure Act and Resilience Assessment and Emergency Response Plan, going with the amount of not to exceed 14,750 using the WSB. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Councilor Bauer makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Councilor Robinson makes a second. Any further discussion? Then Joe, do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Udvig,
I,
Mayor Feldman,
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson,
Aye.
and Councilmember Bauer.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That's a savings of $1,250. So just to let you know. Okay. All right, moving on to item 9B, COVID-19 update and discussion. Joe?
Oh, no. see. Shoot. I'm sorry, I think I cut out for a second. Are we good? Okay.
All right.
Mayor, members of the council, I did send out an email last Friday that's contrary to the staff report that went out on Thursday afternoon. The updated executive order uses more specific wording on how long people should work from home, which they gave April 14th, I think 11:59 p.m. as the recommended date to continue to work from home if you can do so. So with that, I think I would probably have to rescind the recommendation I put in the packet to open on the 22nd of March. I think we've come this far, followed the guidelines, every step that we could, I think. And if we extend it out, I guess if we're going to go to the 14th, you might as well just make it that Monday, the 19th, to reopen of April. I don't know that it makes much sense to come back for a Thursday and then a weekend and then a Monday. So that would be my recommendation, is to follow the state guidelines and executive order. I think it's 11 that I had sent out over the weekend.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm for opening up on the 19th. I think that's the right way to go. It doesn't make sense to open up on the Wednesday and then Thursday the packet goes out. And I think you're better off, by notifying the public through our Facebook and our website. And we can use the spotlight window for this too, by the way, letting people know that the city hall will be open effective on Monday, April 19th. I think that's the way to go. So Kevin, your comments on this, or anything you have to add to this?
No, sir, I'm fine with it. Joe has done a good job and the staff has all been cooperative and they contributed as well to how things are working and clicking along. So no, I'm good with that.
Okay. Sarah, your comments?
I'm good with it as well.
Rob?
I'm kind of leaning towards a little more precautionary. I'm okay with opening the city, but if we still have workers that can work from home diligently, I know my work just had a major outbreak, higher than we've had any in the last year and a half. So I would still, kind of want to have people, if they can work from home, they still can, and kind of just go into this slowly. So,
All right, that's a good point, Rob. How about if we do this? How about if we leave it up to Joe Coleman, our city administrator, to make that decision? And I don't mean to pass the buck here, but he's on a day-to-day basis with everybody. So I'm just saying, I think he's more in tune to who can work from home or who should work from home or not, or whatever. So if that's all right with council, I think that'd probably be the better way to go. We're not into the daily running of the activities of the city hall as he is. So I think the best decision comes from him. So if that's okay with council, Rob, Sarah?
I guess my only question would be, would there be a certain day where like we can tell people that Kate will be here on this day, or, so if they need to see them in person, otherwise you're kind of playing, I'm sure Kate would tell people, in the office, oh, I'll be in on this day, but it'd kind of be nice to know if there were certain days that people can, maybe she can't do it on Monday, but she can be in there on Wednesday. And that way we can let the people know that if you have a certain issue with this, she will be there, or, or Joe Coleman will be there or whatever.
Well, I think that's a point, but I mean, all I know is that the city has run really effectively or efficiently, even through a lockdown, and everyone, all our staff returns phone calls promptly, so that if someone has a question that wants to get Kate, they could call Kate or any one of our department heads or staff, and Jody or anyone, Phil, whatever. And if business is being done with being locked down well, it can only be better as it opens up. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, if they call, like I say, Kate, and want to get together with her, whether she's at home or going to be there, business is still going to get done, no doubt in my mind. So I don't know how we can, in other words, schedule that or go by it on each department or where we would put it, so that everybody would know what day they're there and how that might change. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Tell me, Joe, or any department heads, what you want to do.
I think the way we have it set up right now, we do have someone in at least City Hall every day of the week, and it kind of rotates through, and people are in on different kind of designated days most of the time. But every day someone should be there during the week. And then I think, I don't know how many meetings have happened over the winter. I mean, it is kind of a slower meeting schedule when it's, minus 30 degrees out, but also with the pandemic too. But I think in the springtime when developers start coming, I'm sure Kate is probably the most likely to have meetings, and I'm sure she would accommodate those, whether they want to meet on Zoom or in person at City Hall. I'm sure that they would make an appointment to do so.
Well, let me ask you this, Joe. Is staff fine with this reopening of the city council, of the city hall?
I think there's mixed feelings, to be quite honest. That's the feedback I think I get from staff members, but I think for sure we should at least follow this guidelines in the executive order to the middle of April, and we can re-examine. I think some commercial, I should say some private companies are extending it out much further than I think I'm hoping to see on our end. I mean, I've heard people till September, June for sure. I don't know if I'm quite there yet, but we'll certainly monitor it, and we do typically look at it with Todd and Dave Schmidt as well to keep a couple set of extra eyes on it. So.
Well, on that, by the way, I mean, you are coming into a building season, and spring and summer and all that. So sometimes in-person meetings are going to happen. I mean, I would think there'll be something that comes more beneficial to the results they want. But I have confidence in you and staff to make the right decisions on how to run the city hall. So I'll bow to that myself, but I'll go with whatever council thinks on this. So once again, I'll ask council, do you have a problem letting it in the hands of administrator, which we've done, and it's worked? So Sarah,
Steve, I a little bit of misunderstanding. I have no doubt that our people are working efficiently and effectively from home. And any of those people who Joe deems to be, you're doing fine at home, it's best if you work from home. I don't have a problem with that. I just wanted, it's sometimes hard for older people to figure out, and they might be in town on Wednesday running errands, and they don't necessarily Zoom or any of that stuff. So, but I think, I brought it up as a point, and I'm fine either way, honestly.
Well, Kate, let me ask you, how would you do that if someone called in and you weren't in the office? What would you do then? And needed you in the office or something like that?
Mayor, Council, as of right now, a lot of our meetings are still on phone and Zoom. I think our city planner is 100% Zoom still. They're not doing in-person meetings. So, we've had to have a few citizens that are learning how to also do Zoom, and we've connected them with that. But, we've also had people that schedule through Jody or schedule with Phil. And if they want an in-person meeting, we've had the ability to schedule that and actually meet them at the door or make something work. So we're accommodating where we can.
All right. Kevin, any comments?
Oh, well, thank you, Mayor. No, if it's been working well, I mean, I think we would have heard some concerns from either department heads and or Joe Coleman. So it's working as it should. I wouldn't want to bring any back sooner than need be, as Rob said. If it's people are capable of doing it, another month is not going to make or break it. When I called today at 10 to 5 at the city hall, Lisa answered the phone cheerfully, and I got who I wanted to get to. So, I mean, it's working. So I don't have a problem with the current schedule.
Okay, Rob, any comments you have on that?
No, I don't have, like I said, I don't have a problem with the city opening up. If there's one person in there every day, let's take a look at it right before it really opens up, and maybe we only have 2 in the office instead of all 7, and all 7 get sick in 1 week, and then we're going, wow, so that's what I want to look at, just based on my last 10 days at work, and our COVID-19 increase when everything else was going down. So that's what I'm looking at, is maybe having 2 or 3 in the office per day instead of all 7 or 8. just like bam on April 1st or April 12th or whatever. So that's all I have.
All right, I mean, because Kate's department was the one that actually was down there, because there was 3 members of her department that actually had the COVID there. So, but I think the key word is what Kate mentioned, being accommodating. And I think we are accommodating. So I have not had any calls or complaints of someone who couldn't reach someone from City Hall. I know I put it I just put it in my mayor's report in the city newsletter. I put it out there to call, and you'll have a return response in a short fashion. So I think things are working. I think we're taking the right precautions, and I think opening up on the 19th of April is we'll end up seeing where that goes from there. I guess I would say. Is that about right with everyone? Okay. All right. All right,
Yeah,
Joe.
I
So
think
you
we'll-
have. Go ahead. What do you want to say?
Yeah, I think we'll give advance notice on anything that changes, or if we continue to stay the same come closer to the middle of April here, we'll certainly send out notice to everybody so everyone's kind of on the same page.
All right, and I would mention again, let's put that on the spotlight window. That City Hall will open up effectively on Monday, April 19th, and then these people know that, and then they can go from there. So I'm going to make a note of that myself. Okay. All right, moving on to liquor store employee.
Yes,
Honorable
Mayor.
Mayor, members of the council,
Go ahead. Whoever wants to take it.
I was just going to turn it over to John, so I'll let him have at it here.
Well, I'll jump in then. Mayor, Council, we are looking for approval to hire or potentially go out to hire a full-time liquor store employee. With another one of my part-timers putting in her notice, that's down 3 in the last 2 months. And the lack of the amount of part-time applications that we got, this, I think, will help us to alleviate a lot of the tension and overworking of the staff. With that, I'll ask any or answer any questions.
So what you're requesting from council is to hire a full-time employee, and instead of a part-time, it would be a full-time employee, right? Which would eat up those those part-time hours would be involved now with a full-time employee, what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, I think myself here, and I was talking to Joe Cohen about this earlier, as we're looking at expanding the liquor muni, I think there is a need for a full-time employee to support you, John, yourself, and all that. I think that it's important to have a stable full-time with the manager there, because I'm thinking that I just want to emphasize something to council. Doing the physical expansion of the liquor muni, we're doing this to expand the product line. We're doing this to buy in bulk so we can pass on savings and better pricing so we can be more competitive. Because the one thing I always worry about is, and I was bringing this up to Joe Coleman, is just because we're a liquor muni and the only show in town doesn't mean we shouldn't be competitive in a capitalistic market. Eventually I do believe myself that it will, and I've said this many times before, that it won't take as long as it did to get Sunday liquor as it will to get liquor in grocery stores. You have big players lobbying for that. It's going to come sooner than later. And we want to become a destination place. We want to become a place that people go to St. Francis Bottle Shop because you get it. There's a good variety of product. And we also have a younger audience here that has different tastes and needs. And we want to be competitive price-wise. That's why we're doing that. But bottom line point here is, as important as it is to expand the facility to be able to do those things, you also need a staff in place to sell the product. I mean, and so to me, having someone on a full-time that's there set in place to work well with John and that, I think is just as important as the physical expansion of the building. Okay. Again, you buy a hammer. If you have nails, you need a hammer to put the nails in. If you have a screw, you need a screwdriver to put the screw in. So, I mean, just to expand the liquor muni and have part-time help that doesn't service it right, then all that we've done, expansion-wise, is going to be for naught. I mean, one thing John has, and I've seen him at work, he has real good rapport with his customers, and I think that's important. And I think having a full-time employee is just going to add to that, especially again as we're expanding this facility. I'm for it in the sense that it lends a good amount of stability and support to John, which is going to be important in the days coming through this remodeling phase that we're going to be doing. Because this remodeling phase is going to get rough in the beginning before it gets better. We all know that. I mean, it's going to be in disarray. John's going to be running this actively while we're going through this remodeling. That's going to take months to do. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, it's going to need a good staff in place to keep it all going and get it out there. So I'm for it myself. I think the savings is there. I think it's something that's been discussed for quite a long time, and now there really, I think, is a need for it as we take this liquor meat to the next phase. So, Kevin, I'll let you give your comments on this.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all, I guess when this conversation's over, all of us, I'd like to table the question as a whole, because I'd like to have Joe Muehlbauer chime in on this. I did some snooping on the side. Currently, White Bear Lake is looking for a clerk. Medina Liquors also looking. Cub Foods Crystal, Liquor Barrel. And then when you crunch the numbers, I'm not for, and I understand what's coming. And maybe at the time when the building is done and things are ready, you crunch the numbers and stuff with the para and the insurance and whatnot. I would like to see or entertain the idea of raising the base part-time salary to maybe $16 to $17 an hour. And even at 24 hours, at $17 an hour, you could almost get 2 part-time people for the price of a full-time and still save on insurances and whatnot. I don't really look at it as expanding, our employment rules or our government rule, but again, when the building is done and things are set up, I think you'll get a better idea. Maybe things will, gel a little more about what we need. Maybe we'll need 1 part-timer and then the full-timer will be ready. But at least for the time being, and I talked to Joe Coleman a little bit about it. Money is an issue in people scheduling. I think it can be more worth their while. $17, $18 an hour to get some competent help in there that maybe with some background as well. I mean, you can't compare what John does to, or the people that John needs to maybe like a Quick Trip and whatnot. They're stocking and it's liquor, for goodness sakes. I mean, there's some shenanigans that might go on from time to time from customers that you've got to be wary. But I guess bottom line, I'd like to see us maybe look at 2 part-timers, up the ante as far as dollars, but the city still avoids the insurance and the para obligations for the time being, and then readdress this when the building is done. But I think $3 more an hour than what's going on now, or even possibly and your starting wage, John, correct me, what is a starting wage for a part-timer, if we may ask out loud?
I believe it was, I want to say $12.74 an hour.
Yeah. Well, that's I'd rather see it go 16 to 17 to start, and then they get after 90 days or whatever, John's evaluation, and give them another, even if it's $1. I mean, retention is a tough part, especially when you look on Indeed.com, and ZipRecruiter, you can see the money that's out there, which doesn't really rival the money that was put here. But again, there's municipalities that are having the same problem we have. So, and their money is pretty small, $12, $13. I'm saying go right to the, 15, 16, 17 an hour and maybe get someone's attention. I could be wrong, but that's my thought off the cuff. Thank you.
All right, John, let me ask you, John, the reason for them leaving, is it because of the pay or because of the hours, the days, whatever? What is it? What are you hearing?
Out of the last 3 employees that we lost, one of them had been there for 13 years. She got reassigned from working in Cambridge to working in Big Lake, which is where she lives. So it really didn't make a lot of sense for her to drive out to St. Francis after work and then drive all the way back home to Big Lake. So that was why she had put in her resignation. We had another one that was dealing with, she has 3 kids that are under 6. So she was dealing with schooling and on top of having a full-time job. So she was just kind of overwhelmed with everything. It had nothing to do with us. It didn't have anything to do with pay. It was just, she needed to take care of stuff at home. This last one, she runs a trucking business with her husband. And right now she's the trucking industry is booming. So she needed to be more hands-on with that.
So The reason I ask that is because, if we do what Kevin's, asking, or we go to and raising the minimum wage, I mean, raising the wages, I can understand that, but it seems like to me, it's not the money that's the problem. It's they have a life's a full-time job and they're taking a part-time on. And of course, you're going to give up the part-time to benefit your family or your full-time job, or work with that better, because that's the real main bread and butter of your income. So my point is that if you increase the wage and then later on at full-time, you'll be getting it from both ends. So to me, I just think it's more beneficial that for John to be able to count on one full-time person, and we can wait to implement this as we get closer to the project and see where that goes. In other words, as I was talking to Joe Coleman, let's just say, for instance, and I'm not thinking this is going to happen, but let's say we end up getting bids so ridiculously high that we decide not to do the liquor community expansion, which I hope does not happen. But let's say we got bids that were $250,000 higher than we proposed to go, then we're going to hold off on that. Then I'm thinking maybe at that time you could increase the wage for part-time, see if that helps. But it doesn't seem to me that money is the issue. It's there again. It seems like from what John just described, that they have. I know the individual he's talking about, who's in the trucking business. I've known her for many, many, many years, and I just know that she's going to give her full attention to her husband's business, which she runs with him. So when that wasn't in play, she wanted to pick up. She's a hard worker, but her bread and butter is, of course, with her husband's job or business. So I understand where that's coming from. So I don't see a need unless John tells us to increase the wages. I think there's more of a need for him to be able to count on a full-time employee that is there solid, that he can count on, so that if he goes through an employment situation, he has one person he can definitely count on. That's just my opinion. Okay. I've been in small business a long time, and I've learned that, you have to have good people around and you have to be able to count on them. And that's one way you can do that. So Sarah, your comments on this?
I think that we can possibly, I don't know that we have to run out and hire somebody right now, but I do agree that we do need to have a backup for John. What if something happens that he's got to be out an extended period of time again? It'd be really nice for him to not have to worry and not have employees having to call him to try to figure things out. I'm sure he would greatly appreciate that. And I think, if we're gonna sit there and go, okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and start our pay at, let's say, $17 an hour. Well, I'm guessing that maybe they are, maybe the other part-timers are making that, but that's a real slap to the face. If you're a new employee and you come in and you make that much more an hour than someone who's been there, it's not going to be a fun environment for John to try to handle. So I'm looking at it as, we have mostly part-time employees. So if we're going to bump all those up to, whatever is for the next people, that's going to add up too. Is that correct, John?
Yes, I mean, having it be a city job, the pay is public. And yes, I do believe there would be issues with my part-time employees if a new person was coming on and they were making more. I do believe that would be an issue.
Well, let me just say here, if we were to increase the pay, we'd have to do it we'd have to do it for everyone. I mean, let's say we go to a $15 minimum wage pay. We're not going to just do that for new hires. I mean, this isn't like a cable company. New subscribers get great deals and old customers don't. I mean, that can't be. I mean, so we'd have to make it across the board. So I'm just saying to you, and I agree, and I like what Sarah's saying. I didn't even think about it from this aspect, but yeah, I mean, John, in my opinion, needs to be able to count on something so that if something happens to him or some situation happens that, he's got to be able to know he's got someone there that he can count to continue running this. Can you do that on a part-time basis versus a full-time? I'm not sure. I don't know. I myself in business always had my staff, on a full-time basis, as far as like waitresses or, waitress, the heads of the waitress and stuff like that, always full-time when I was in that business. I mean, because I was somebody I could always count on to make sure those shifts got covered, because that's really what happens on a salaried employee. When that part-time can't come in, that salaried employee is going to pick that up. So that's what you end up doing. So I think that it's been able to run like it has because it's been a smaller situation. Now that we're getting to a bigger situation, it's going to be a whole different ball game there. So, and again, we don't have to rush into this, but something we should think about. Rob, what is your comments on this?
Well, I agree with you, Mayor. I don't think we need to put the cart in front of the horse. Let's see how this expansion looks like. I'm looking at the salary, 46,924 based on a 2080 work year, and I get $22.55 an hour. And I've said that, last probably month or so when I started seeing liquor store part-time employees leaving. To me, when you can work at McDonald's and make more than a city employee, part-time or not, McDonald's part-time, I thought the wage was a little low to maintain even part-time staff in that environment. So I'm like Kevin, let's not put the cart in front of the horse, and let's see what this expansion brings. I do agree that we need to have someone in the liquor store atmosphere to take over for John in that aspect as well. But I don't know what that looks like right now. So I'd like to know, is the 46,924, am I doing the math incorrectly? Or is that $22.55 an hour for one full-time employee when part-timers were making 12? I would look at increasing part-timers and bringing in at least, the comparable number that you had now at a higher wage to see if you can get some stability and take a look at this after the expansion goes in.
All right, thank you, Rob. John, give us your take on this, what you think, okay? From the management aspect and the years you've been doing this, tell us what you think you'd like to see.
So I would love to have a full-time employee, and for the reasons that you guys gave, for the stability. It is a part-time job, and 99% of the part-time employees that come in and work for me also have a full-time job. So they're not there for the long haul. I mean, Katie, the latest employee that put in her notice, she's been our shortest tenure, and she was there for a year and a half. I mean, honestly and truly, I'm blessed with good employees and a very low turnover rate. But just having somebody there full time that this is what they do would be ideal, just because, like I said, all these other employees have full-time jobs, and they're going to go somewhere else or quit. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I would, the analogy that I brought up to Joe Coleman is this, by the way. It's kind of like a homeowner, like a house that you rent out. A renter mentality is different than someone you rent to that's a former owner that wants to be an owner again. You know what I mean? Owner that, like when I rented in Champlin, we wanted to buy a house. So we took care of that rental home like it was our home. You get a renter in there is a renter mentality. They don't care because it's not their responsibility. My point being is here, like you just said, a part-timer, their main bread and butter is their full-time job, and their family is their other requirement on them. So you're right. I mean, a part-timer is only going to be there for a certain amount of time, and you don't know how long that's going to be. A year, I would imagine, year and a half is pretty good, keeping them that long. So, but they're going to swing all the time. So you really have no one you could truly count on to pick up that extra that you can't. In other words, you can't look back in the corner and say, well, who can I count on right now when I got a situation I need to count on? A salaried person, you can do that because that person, their only place their living is coming from us fully.
Right.
And I think that's important myself. And like I say, I think there's going to be more of a need as we get this expansion done. You're going to need more of that. I don't know if you're going to be able to handle it all on part-time basis. The worst thing that could happen, by the way, council and staff, is if we remodel this place and we end up getting enough storage for bulk purchasing and more product line, and then we don't have a good staff to be able to run it, is going to be like, that'd be like, shoveling it back on ourselves. I mean, we need to have, look at when you have good products and you have good, again, pricing, all that stuff, you still need good customer service. And that's the people that serve our customers, our residents. So to me, the whole idea of this, again, is to make it a destination place, not just a convenience, because right now it's basically, you come down Highway 47 in the summertime, you stop in for a quick case and head out to your cabin or whatever. So it's like a drive-through right now where it can be a destination place and really increase profits over the years. So I don't know. It's not, as far as the need for the full-time right now, I think there is a need for it. I think there's going to be more of a need as we expand. I'm up for seeing how it goes here. I'm up for right now, seeing if we get the right bids to get this remodeling going. I think that's important right now. See if these prices come in. We're going to, and Joe, when is the deadline for these bids to come in? What day is that?
I just clarified that earlier today, and I think it is April 8th is the date I got here.
Okay, so by April 8th, we'll have all the bids in place and we'll know where we're going to go with this remodeling. And then at that time, like I say, again, as I asked John earlier, it doesn't seem to me that the wage is the problem. It just seems that it's a part-time job versus their full-time job and other things in their lives, especially with the staying home with the kids and stuff like that. So I don't know if pushing the wage up right now is going to benefit us as much as looking forward to getting a full-time as we expand this facility. Does that sound right, John, or not?
Don't get me wrong. I think that the way that COVID and everything has happened, I think honestly that the 1274, at least in this last round of applications for part-time, was a fairly big reason why I only got 3. But that is something that we can look at in the future. I mean, because like Rob said, you can go to McDonald's and make $15 an hour. And granted, now I hope not to offend anybody, but you're working at McDonald's versus, working at a liquor store and having some community value. I don't know. That's my take. That's how I feel about it. I do think that it is a hair low with the responsibility that we have at the liquor store and the amount of labor that we do, bringing stacks of beer in, putting stacks of liquor away. It is strenuous. So like I said, it is something that I think that we could possibly look at in the future, but right now it is what it is.
So really what you're saying is if so for enticement of applicants for a job, the higher wage will help you, no doubt. A minimum wage of 15 versus the 1274 or whatever. Okay. That I can understand that. Kind of like what old Chief Hairpat did with the stipend, and then we changed it to a healthcare plans that we have. And I think Todd would agree with this, that the healthcare plans help you, the way we have it now set up with health plans in place makes it better that when you're out there looking for a police officer, that is one enticing tidbit out there that makes them say, we have a health plan in place in this city. That's kind of nice. That not been a plus factor for you, Todd?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, benefits help. Pay is one thing, but when new employees come in, especially with families, and you have an insurance plan in place, it's a huge contributor to getting good employees for sure.
Okay. So how about if we do this? How about if we look at we could increase the wage to 15 and like a minimum wage that the federal government's talking about. We could do that now and then wait on the full time until we see how this expansion is going to go. Or we could hold off on, and I just bring this up, I'm just throwing this out. We could hold off on the minimum wage increase on the part-times and maybe table this for at least 30 days, or at least make sure that we're going to expand this facility. And if we're going to expand this facility, then start looking seriously at a full-time employee, which I actually think the full-time is probably the better way to go myself, because that's a salaried person that only income is coming from the one job only. So they're going to devote their effort to that job. It's not as though they're going to take a part-time on top of that if you go with a full-time. So we could go again, minimum wage increase now and hold off on the full-time, or we could go leave the wage as it is now. And then as this gets closer, as once we see the bids on the 8th and decide if we're going to go forward with this, then we sit down with John and maybe decide that maybe a full-time now and working that full-time in place as this. In other words, we hired a full-time, that full-time gets more into what's expected of that person as we get into the opening date of a new facility. So that instead of trying to have John do that after it opens up, he'll be ready when it opens up for a great grand opening, and we can really kick this thing off in the right way. Because I've always said in any job I do, knowledge, material, and tools are right for my job. So I want to have the right tools, the right material, and the right knowledge to pull off what I do in remodeling or building. And in my opinion, having a place that gives you the ability to buy in bulk and more product line is important. But the other side of that is a full-time employee or an employee that John can count on to help him get through to staff, right? John, I know, wants to do wine clubs and stuff like that. That's going to take time. And I don't know if you're going to be able to do that with part-time people as you would one full-time employees as a good backup. Am I right on that, John, or not?
Yes,
Okay.
I would agree.
Okay. So how would you like to see us proceed on this, John?
I understand the waiting, especially to listen to what Councilmember Muehlbauer would have to say, or to table it until we get the bids. I was hoping, like I said, we lost, or we have another one putting in her notice. With that, even with the new hire or potential new hire, that still only puts me at, I believe, 4 part-time employees plus myself and Crystal. So we're running thin. I know that it takes time to get the new people in, but one way or another, I'm thinking we need at least one more person, one more body in there, just especially heading into the busy months of summer. And if they're doing construction, we're going to need people there moving around. So
Okay. So how about if we do this? How about if we wait till April 8th to see the bids come in? We make our decision to see if we're actually going to go forward with this remodeling and expansion of the liquor muni. And at that time, if we have to do a work session to discuss this, I think at that time we can look at this more seriously. And if we're going to do expansion, like I say, it's one thing to have a beautiful building that allows you to bulk buy and expand your product line, but you got to have the right people in place to make the sales. That's the thing. Okay. This is not vending machines where they walk in there, put $10 in a machine and pop a bottle out and walk away. There's people there that you need. And I'm thinking that you've done a great job running this facility as you have, but now we're taking it to a next level. And that's where I think a full-time employee does have a need in your department. I think that's going to really be a big advantage for you, or big help. And like I say, right now, let me ask you this also, John. If something happened to you right now, and God forbid that it does, but let's say something that knocked you out for like a week or whatever, okay? Do you have somebody that can actually step in for you?
Crystal is there. Crystal is my assistant, and she's been at the store. Actually, it'll be 20 years here in May, I believe. So she can step in. It's now filling her position that we would struggle with, and that would with less part-time employees, it would getting them to step up with their full-time job and their families, it's a little bit more difficult. But yes, long answer short, yes, there is somebody that could step in and if I have.
Is she staying? Is she staying?
Yes, Crystal is with us. Yep.
Would Crystal be someone you would move to full-time?
She is full-time.
Okay, she is full-time.
Yep, she's the assistant manager there. Yep,
okay. So what you're looking for is, instead of hiring another part-time, you look for a full-time, and then you'd have you'd have you, assistant manager, and then you'd have a full-time employee that you could count on. That 3 bases what you'd be counting on, you and those
Correct.
2.
Yep.
All right, does make sense. All right, so if council agrees with it, and John does, let's just see how the bid process works out. Let's make sure we're going forward with the actual expansion of this building, and then at that time decide if this is really something we can look at and seriously look at it, and then be prepared so that when this thing gets done and opened up, we're not short-staffed or counting on part-time. I mean, it'd be terrible if we get this whole place operational and then we have a shortage of staff part-time and we can't function. So we got a new beautiful building, but we're not functioning properly. That would be kind of a kick in the butt, my own opinion. So let me get a little feel for council on this. Rob, how do you think about that? And we also want Joe Muehlbauer's input too on this, by the way. So Rob?
Like I said, the 46,924 for me, based on a 20/80, 40-hour work week, I come up with over $22 an hour. I would like to see what other liquor stores are paying in our region. I think that's a little on the high side. My thought would be if we got to 15, 16, 17 bucks an hour, and you gave someone full-time status, the perk is, like Kevin says, the para and the insurance, which would put them up a substantial amount of benefit based on someone that's part-time. I would be under the impression you have 4 or 5 part-timers and you bring somebody in that's making $22 an hour full-time, you're going to need 4 new part-timers because they're going to leave at $12 an hour. To me, $12 an hour is one of the main reasons why people don't stay as part-time. It just isn't a part-time wage that people feel the need to fill that void of hours. Like I said, they're not doing it for full-time for sure. But if you got a little bit better wage, 15, 17, and you're above at least the fast food markets, you'd get a better group of applicants. I'm not opposed to in the future having one more full-time person. I'm not opposed to that. At this time, I say we just table it and take a better look at it with the expansion. But I would like to know what that 46,924 is per hour.
Well, let's ask Joe Coleman. How did you come up with that number?
So our wage scale that was done, I guess probably about 10 years ago, that was, they had a liquor store clerk position. And I think Rob is right. I think it is, I was just kind of doing some math here while he was rallying off those numbers, but I have 22.55. Is that what you had, or 22.56? Yeah. So that is the hourly rate for that position.
All right, so let me ask John this before I turn over the rest of the council. Where's Crystal on that whole pay scale?
Yeah, I was going to ask that as well, but if we don't want to put it out there publicly.
Well, we don't want to put it, it's up to John what he's going to tell us. So you
Yep.
can tell us it's in play. It's in play. Tell us however comfortable you want to tell us.
Yeah, well, it was brought up today, and she said that that's not too horribly far from where she's at, and she's been here for 20 years. So it was brought up. But yeah.
Okay.
Would she receive a pay raise if that wage was, or that person would be below?
That I don't know. It would be something that we'd have to talk with Joe and Darcy about if it's, and then bring it back to council. But I mean, yeah, it's, as of right now, yeah. Like I said, it was brought up. It wasn't like a, I'm out of here if this happens type of thing. So
Right. For me, it would be sad for someone to be there 20 years and still be at that low of a pay scale, I think we as the city can do better at, keeping longevity staff, which we've been doing pretty good the last 3 or 4 years, but yeah, I think there's some paperwork and some really pencil sharpening that we need to do here to get more of a competitive wage all the way around for those part-timers in the liquor store.
Well, let me bring up something else here, because something just popped into my mind before I turn over to Sarah and Kevin and all that, but just something popped into my mind. Instead of starting this out like at 22.5 for a full-time, what if we looked at a full-time position at $17 an hour, as was mentioned earlier? And so instead of hiring a part-time, but because the difference is, I know you're talking about wage and that, but these are part-time people. So in other words, they're not going to ever do a full-time job here. They're not going to leave their full-time job to come here full-time unless you give them you'd have to match what they're making or beat what they're making at full-time. So these are always, unless John, correct me if I'm wrong, the part-time employees you have, no matter what you pay them, are always going to be part-time employees, because it's a fill-in job. It's a fill-in job to supplement. Let's say they do 40 hours, they want 50 hours or whatever, but it's not the pay that is making the difference with them. So my point point is, what if we looked at this future position as starting them out at a $17 with para and whatever, and then see how the need of it expands through the expansion, all that stuff, and then we can increase it, phase it in over time. But in other words, go from 12.50 up to 17 for a full-time, not where Crystal is at a full-time, but right in between, get you another full-time employee, and then phase it in as we see the need for it, as we get the expansion open and running, and see how it all works out in the long run. That I think can be something we could work with, because again, in my opinion, a part-timer, in other words, today, if you increase your part-time people, John, to $17 an hour, is that going to make a difference with them leaving in time down the road? Because unless that matches or beats what they're making on a full-time, it's still a
Right.
part-time job.
Part-time is part-time, and they eventually they will, yes, be gone.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, Sarah, your comments on this?
I think that we should table it until we see the bids. But if we're gonna wait for what Councilmember Mulebauer has to say, then we need to table it. So I don't think
Well,
I don't think
continue it.
rehash what's already been said.
We'll continue. Kevin, what your comments on this before we go?
No, I think we've vetted a lot of good stuff here, especially I didn't think about what Sarah's point was as far as the existing employees, et cetera. But as I talked to Joe Coleman today, he explained to me the step that had to follow, or the time spent or time on the job, and you get a raise, et cetera. And I would choose the $15 an hour was my concern. I don't care what the federal government wants. I was concerned what St. Francis needs. And I thought maybe a $3 enticement to get some different skill set. When people are looking at ads for jobs, if they see 12 or they see 15, and they have a certain skill set, and I think John would probably agree that you're going to get a different class of people coming in that might already have some experience, which takes less work on John's part to bring them up to speed. But I'm all for tabling it now. I would like to give John the latitude for, as far as part-time coming in, $12 is nothing, at least as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I think we should bring it up, or let him use some discretion, again, without impeding or getting other people already within the system upset. But I think $12 is pretty paltry. I mean, Casey's assistant manager is $13 an hour. And and again, everybody's got a job to do somewhere. But again, I would choose 15 for St. Francis needs, not what the federal government needs. These jobs aren't meant to be forever jobs. They're, as a stepping stone to better things. And I'm really glad to hear the revelation that he has Crystal in his court as well. I didn't know he had an assistant manager full time, so that's awesome. And again, as things get busier, John will become more of an administrator than the wine bar and the promotions and stuff. Whenever you can put his focuses energy on the good stuff to help pay for this expansion and stuff, it's going to flourish. And Crystal will be there to hold him up. And I'm not opposed to a third person coming in. The time is right, and I like the mayor's point about lowering that threshold to 17, even 16, and give people something to work for. Those benefits are pretty nice. I mean, the $22,000 alone in para and insurance. And again, if you got a family and stuff, that really sometimes means more than the salary itself. So that's what I've got. Thank you.
All right, well, I can just say once again, to entice somebody full-time, you're gonna, you got to get someone that wants to be a full-time employee. Part-time is part-time, like John just said. That's like a part-time mentality versus, like I say, a renter mentality versus an owner mentality. So I could see us eventually going to 15 on our part-time, 17 for a full-time, or in that range to start, and then phase it in like that. Then you'd have another full-time. But I guess the way to do it right now is, because we want Joe Mulebauer's take on this. Let's table this to a work session right after we get the bids, because we'll have to have a work session on that anyways to decide what we're going to do to go forward with the project. So April 8th. So let's just bring this back. Let's see, our first meeting in April is going to be the 5th. 3 days later comes in for those bids. So how about if we, Joe, put it on the agenda for the April 5th meeting to make a work session to deal with this issue after we get the bids on the 8th. Can we do that? Joe?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We can set a work session next meeting, just as we get closer to the date.
Right, because it makes sense.
Or bring it back or I think, another potential option is discuss the bids at the 19th meeting and then set a work session for that date, because then we'll have the bids, we'll kind of have some, they'll be brought to the council formally, and then we can talk about other stuff after that.
All right, we could do that too. I mean, so on the 4/19 meeting, we'll have the bids in on the 8th. The only difference is I was hoping that if we saw the bids, we could get to something in between that, before that April 19th meeting. I don't see it makes a difference, I guess. What do you think?
Mayor, may I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we talk about it sooner than the 19th? I mean, we can at least vet it out some more. Joe will get his 2 cents in, and we might have some other input or other education between now and then, and John might even have some input as well. I think we should talk about it sooner, because if the bids don't come in, he still thinks he needs a full-time person, and maybe our own ideas will change and things will, maybe I'd rather do it sooner than wait another month out.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%, Kevin. So let's put on the agenda for the 5th of April. The bids will come in on the 8th. We can decide the work session probably the week of the 12th, okay? And then we'll have it ahead of time before the meeting on the 19th. Joe Muehlbauer will be part of it, and we can discuss this in a real thorough way at a work session. Okay? Everybody agree with that, Rob? John?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate it.
Okay, so on the 5th of April, we'll put this on the agenda to decide a work session for the date of the week of the 12th, so that we can discuss this further, and then we'll have the bids in place in our hands, and we can see exactly where we're gonna go and then get on this more seriously that we should, okay? Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody, on that one.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, now, you're talking about a work session right now coming up here next. This will be in time for the, get us prepped for school resource officer, talk city parks and Highway 47 and city-owned land. So you're looking at the 22nd of March.
The
Joe?
week of, yep. So what
Okay,
is
the
that next
22nd?
week?
Okay,
Whatever works for you guys.
okay. Let's see. I'm going to step out of here and get my phone, and I'll be right back. All right. In the meantime, look at your calendars. Susie, give me my phone, please.
Oh, now that he's gone, 24th doesn't work for me.
Monday doesn't, the 22nd is school
That's
board.
School, yep.
Yep, so.
All right, sorry about that. So what does the 22nd look for everybody?
I
I
got a
have a
school
school
board
board
meeting.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
Okay, so you have a school board meeting on that Monday, right?
Yes,
And we said we'd hold off on the Mondays because of that. How about the 23rd? Does that work for everybody?
23rd works for me.
Okay, Kev? Okay, Sarah, 23rd?
yes, it works.
Okay. So the 23rd is a Tuesday at 5:30 on Zoom. Is that good, Joe, or no?
Yeah, I think that'll work for me. I think Kate and Todd, we just want to make sure that works for them.
All right, well, I didn't know they were going to be part of it. So Kate, will that work for you?
Yes, that will.
Todd?
That should work.
Okay, I didn't know you were going to be part of it, like I say, but I'm glad you can make it. So, all right, so let's do 5:30 on Zoom. Session. On Zoom on the 23rd of March, okay, which is a Tuesday. Okay, make a note of that. Okay, very good. All right, let's see, let's move on to the second meeting open to the public. Joe, do we have anyone?
We did have someone just pop in here. We'll give it a second, but now would be the time for anyone to address the city council. Now would be the time for anyone to address the city council if they wish to.
You said you had one, you had someone that was there, not there, not now, whatever.
Yeah, it says resident connecting to audio. Maybe they can hear me now. Now would be the time to address the city council if they'd like to. It doesn't sound like we have anyone to address the council, Your Honor.
All right, let's move on with our agenda here. And if someone pops in, Joe, just let us know, okay? And we can readjust that. I mean, we want somebody, if they have input, they want to, I don't want to turn someone down from giving their input at a meeting. All right, moving on to department reports, Public Works monthly reports.
Mayor, members of the council, I'll address a couple things that are not on the report that you guys normally see. We've been doing some brush cutting up on Pedersen, up on the corner there. So if you guys see that, we've opened the visibility up. The brush was encroaching up next to the road there, so we cut it back within the right of way. The reuse pumps in our wastewater plant are up and running now. As I spoke before, we had a seal and a check valve fail, and it got sucked up in the impeller. Good news is it did not ruin the impeller, so we didn't have to replace it, but we had to do some light machining. That's been shipped out, replaced, and put back together, and it is now in full operation. We've had some in-house training on some chlorine and different, policies that we have, kind of cross-training between sewer and water and streets and parks. In the event of emergency, they would know what's going on. We did some refurbishing in our chemical room in the water plant, plastic lines that infuse the chemicals. After a while, they start to dry out. And to eliminate a catastrophic failure, we take the proactive approach and make sure that those lines are changed out ahead of time before they do fail. Road grading is going to start next week. The frost is pretty much out. I've heard some reports that the top 4 or 5 inches is a little hard, but once you get past that, the frost is pretty much out. So receiving quotes right now for dust control. We're going to want to make sure we get on the books for that. So I'm receiving quotes for that and street sweeping. I met with Shane today. We went out, we looked at overlay projects for Tamarack, 239th Ute and 241st. Plans are drawn up. The preliminary plans are drawn up. We got a couple changes we're going to make. Hope to have them ready this by the end of the week. Bottle shop walkthrough is on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that. The RFPs obviously have been out. As Joe mentioned, April 8th at 2:00 is the deadline. We'll do the bid opening, and then we'll have something for you guys to review on the 19th for that. So we'll have all the information. Hopefully the prices come in good. We got 1 meter left. I stated we sent out the certified letter that was written up by our attorney. Did not hear back on the deadline for the Thursday install. We showed up, but yet the homeowner was not home. So we're going to have to talk further about that. Other than that, if there's anything else you guys have questions for, ask away.
All right, well, let me ask you this on this one last meter here. So in other words, there was a scheduled date to put it in, but this owner didn't comply for some reason and didn't let the city know what that reason was?
Correct. I tried making a phone call today with no such luck. We were there. I don't remember the time. I want to say it was 2:00. We stated in the letter. We gave them, I think, 7 business days to comply, to make arrangements for work. And the individual did not reply. So we're gonna
Have we find this individual yet or before? Was
Nope. Nope. We wanted to go through this process first. Dave thought it was best that we draft something up, start from the beginning, and then go from there. So that's where we're at. And obviously I'll be talking with him to see how we could proceed with this.
Well, we did do $250 fines for other people. We'll have to give this gentleman, this individual, a notice and all that before we institute that. But at the same time, I don't know how many times you need to go through this to figure out. I mean, you're going to comply or you're not. It's a 30-minute deal. I mean, I love how someone makes more out of it than it truly is. It's an easy fix. It benefits them as well as us to be able to service them better. So, I'm for sending out a notice and letting him know the next time if a date's made and he doesn't comply, it's a $250 fine, in my opinion. I mean, let's get this thing done already. One individual holding up a whole city does not make sense to me at all. Also, I want to bring up here on these 2 pumps that were replaced. they got clogged or something? Is that what broke their impellers or something?
Yep. So you have the reuse pumps, a regular turbine pump like you would use on our wells, and that's for our reuse. So obviously we're in the off season right now. We don't irrigate with it, but they go through recirculation. So we got to move the water around. So it just pumps, comes back in. And what happened is there's check valves. So there's constant pressure in the pipes, and they're made to hold back 550 PSI. What happened is one of the mechanisms failed, and when it turned on the pump, it slid down into what we call our wet well, and when it fired back up, it got stuck in the impeller. The stainless steel piece did. It got stuck in the impeller, and caused it to phase out, and it tripped the breaker. So we shut it down, pulled it, freed it up, thought, well, that's weird, or it's working. So we set the thing back down there, went to fire it up again. It stopped again. We said, okay, there's obviously something in there. We were lucky enough to where the piece of stainless steel stayed in the impeller. So when we pulled it, we looked at this, looked like a pickle fork. We were able to look at it and say, what the heck is this from? Is it due to construction? Is there something that's failed? We looked at the shaft, we looked at the motor, we looked at the impeller, the bell housing. Nothing had fallen off. We looked further, we went into the check valve, we seen that the check valve failed. We knew right then that, okay, that's where that came from. We didn't want it to happen to another one. We figured if one check valve failed, it could possibly happen to another. And when we pulled the other one out, we seen that one was starting to fail too. So I don't know if it was due to poor design. That's what they're saying. There's an updated version that we put in there. And then we were able to keep the other one for backup in case of emergencies. So.
All right, so let me ask you this: where the impeller is there any screening you can do around the impeller that if something like that were to happen again, it wouldn't get to the impeller? Is there anything that out there in the marketplace that kind of like filters it before? In other words, something that would prevent that breakage or whatever that item getting in there from getting into the impeller if it happened again?
There possibly is. It sits pretty low to the ground, about 6 inches off the ground. I'd have to check into that. It wasn't offered to us. These guys that pull it this is what they do every day. And usually, like in a lift station, they have certain things that you can do, but it's different from this. I will ask that question. But again, usually if that's something that happens, those pits in the reuse are clean. And in the event that something fails and goes back down there, is kind of a fluke, but it happens. So I will ask that question, but nothing to my knowledge right now.
All right, because the only thing it brings up is that you checked the second check valve and it looks like it was going to have the same problem. So you caught it ahead of time. But what if you didn't catch it ahead of time? It would happen again and we'd be going through the same thing. So I'm just wondering if something else isn't out there as a second backup safety, safety issue. Safety.
I totally know what you're talking about. For that pump to be able to pick that stainless steel up and where it fell into the tank, it would have had to walk over there. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen again. As a matter of fact, we treated it as if it would have. So I'll certainly check into that tomorrow to see what they have.
Some kind of screening housing or something like that.
Right. You'd have to figure out how it hooked to the bell housing. The bell housing just comes down. There's no threads, so you'd have to fasten it. You would have to fasten it in a way that you wouldn't have that fall off and suck that through. So I'll do some checking.
All right. Well, at least it's worth checking into, but because those are important situations. By the way, I don't see, if I'm right here, the rereads and all that are low, which is great, but I don't see any clogged lift stations. Is that a first in here, or?
It got warm early, so we were able to clean lift stations more than we normally would have during the winter. We obviously do our spring cleaning, but we were able to do it, 3-4 times, keep a close eye on it. If there was anything floating, the guys were able to get it out. So just being more proactive with the warm weather, being able to get in there, it wasn't steaming up, so you could see what you were doing. The temperatures, actually, they had a big difference in that. And then the other thing too is, we're educating through newsletters consistently. I'm hoping that people are getting the message.
Well, that would be nice. All right, thank you for the report. Rob, your comments on this report?
Jason, great report. Yeah, that was one thing I was looking at too. I'm like, where did our clogged pump section go? But in 4.5 years, that's a first that I've seen. So I'm hoping that we continue the trend. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Kevin, your comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Jason, good report. A couple questions for you. Well, a comment, first of all, I'm really frustrated that, again, we're spending more legal time and lawyers aren't free for one water meter. Aside from the $250, I mean, maybe there should be other penalties and things incurred here. This is really too bad. The other citizens are paying the price for this, for professional help for us to draft a letter to ask a resident to step up and let us in and do the water meter. So it's money wasted as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
Second, Jason, this is kind of a side question. Did a resident reach out to you about a $400 water bill and possibly a meter issue? And
Yeah.
Darcy dovetail that, and don't mention names or any of that stuff, but was that rectified or taken care of?
I received a call. She was thanking us this morning. Yes, it was taken care of.
Okay.
And Darcy,
And then this is kind of for the fire chief and Jason, the fence lady, are we still hosing down? Are we expending any labor hours or water, second grade water to the fences? And what is our timeline on that fence? And can anybody give me that?
I don't have any new update on that. I know that we were not watering it down because our truck was set up for the rink. But the fire chief may have some answer to that.
Mayor and Councilmember Robinson, by the time we had an opportunity to get out there, we had a pretty substantial amount of snow on the ground. So we weren't worried about it at that time. Today's weather is certainly helping continue on our, call it winter version 2 here in Minnesota. But as far as the status of the fence, I have not checked recently.
Okay, well, and the chief will attest, the dry season's coming, brush fires. I've seen some of your rigs out running around and neighboring rigs running around too. So I don't know who's in charge of that or who adopted that project, but as long as we're abreast of it and then citizens around her can be assured that the things are in hand without spending too much city money on it. That was my concern. And then maybe back to Jason, Poppy Street and or Joe Coleman. Can we bring that back to the front burner as far as a meeting and with new membership at the neighboring council? Can we, and mayor, or whatever it takes, can we bring that back to the front burner in the coming weeks to talk about that?
Well, right now, let's get past this public works thing, and then we'll discuss that, because I was going to bring that up in my mayor's report.
Okay,
So
it was just a street related. That's why I did it. Thank you, Mayor. Again, good report, Jason. Asked and answered. Thank you very much.
And Jason, to what Kevin brought up about this meter issue with the 400, that individual that we helped out, was it being able to be helped out easier because of the new system we have in place?
Yes, we were able to find it that way. The leak was on her part. She was able to hire a plumber to come in and rectify it. But it was, she noticed it through the water bill. And I know Darcy was working with her and is continuing to work with her. But she was just very pleased at how we were able to all put it together and handle it and get in there and get it solved.
And so Darcy, did our new system help this out for you to be able to pinpoint it like you have in the past?
This one, she actually noticed it on her bill. So, and then walking through it, we told her, this is what your bill has been doing. So, I mean, it helped to see the data and be able to tell her that there was water going through there like every hour. So there was a leak someplace.
Continuous usage for 24 hours is what we looked at. And then, with the billing, that's Darcy handles that. So we just want to make sure that we're working close with her, because oftentimes they'll call us and then they call her, and we just want to make sure that we're consistent in what we're saying. But she was very pleased. Like I said, she left me a message this morning, thanking all of us. She felt very confident in what we offered and given her recommendations on who to get in there to correct her problem, along with what Darcy was working on the billing side. So.
Can I ask one other question, Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin, please.
Darcy, also during some of the conversation I had with the resident, they talked about averaging or billing averages. Is there such a thing, or can you elaborate on any of that?
They got that mixed up with it. One of the terms that she used was winter averaging. And what we do the winter averaging for is we take 3 months in the winter, and that determines a not to exceed amount for your sewer in the summertime. So she kind of got that term mixed in there, and that wasn't correct.
Okay, I had never heard that either, and I wanted to clarify that for anybody listening or going to watch this later on. So thank you very much. I knew you'd have the answers, all parties. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
I know.
No, it's not. Go ahead, Darcy. Go ahead.
I did tell, just to give you an example of the meters helping, I did tell Steve this a couple weeks ago. I had a gentleman call me, and it was a question of he was trying to set up automatic payments. And in his voicemail to me, he said, I'm down in Florida until March. And I just went into his account and I looked and I went, well, wait a minute, if you're down in Florida, how come your bill is so much? And so I called him, and he was very happy that I called him. And I said, well, it looks like there's water running through there every hour. I said, it's not drastic, but it's a lot of water. And so he called a friend that came over to the house. And in the meantime, I got a hold of Parrish and the guys. They went out there and they shut the water off. And so that gentleman was very happy that I could see that on a immediate basis.
Well, and I thank you for that. I'm bringing this up right now because I want people, if they're listening in, one of the reasons we did this with the upgrade technology with our meters was to, solve problems like this, or at least help people solve it at a lower number. And this guy was out of town. And it would have been, by the time he got back, he would have really had a large bill. So let me just ask one question here on this. Is there any way to set up in the system here? And I'm not sure we can, but is there some way that we can just set it up that these meters, if there's a substantial usage, a red flag comes up or is sent to us that we know it and we can contact these people, like kind of like preemptive? Is that possible with our technology or not? Darcy.
Yeah, there is a dashboard that tells meters that have constant usage.
So can we eventually implement that so that we notice these things in case, like say, for instance, before someone calls us in, we are notifying them of a large water usage problem? Is that possible?
Would be possible. I would probably tend to have Public Works be looking at it to see if, what they know about the meter and the property.
Yeah, but
what we're doing right now is we actually had Jen do that, and I want to say there's like 65 of them right now. We're obviously going to get with Darcy and see how she wants us to do it. But then what we would do is we would go through and we would see which ones are the high use, which ones are continuous use. And we would give her those addresses and what information we have, and then she could make a call or however we want to do it, just to let these people know that, hey, there could be an issue within your house, whether it's a leaky toilet, whatever it may be, and we could start out going that route.
Right, and it is one advantage of the system we put in place. And a lot of people thought, in the very beginning, I remember when we put the system out, people were accusing the city of just trying to make more money off our rates, which is not why we did it. We did it so that we can utilize this technology to help us in situations like this. That's why we did it, because we are a customer service business and want to service the customers better. So if that can be done and all that, that's something we should utilize or take advantage of in this new technology. So I want to thank you for that. I'll turn it over to Sarah for her comments on this report.
I'm just going to say it was an excellent report, Jason. Thank you for your time and commitment to helping us understand all this fun water stuff that most of us have no clue about, but I do enjoy when you send pictures. I do enjoy looking at them and actually kind of getting ideas of what things are. So great report. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And finally, Jason, I want this understood here as far as I'm going to speak, my feelings on this, just my feelings, but this meter has got to be changed out sooner than later. So I would not waste time and more legal expense. I would send one more notice, letting this gentleman sign up for a date, make that date, or it's a $250 fine, or if we agree with more fine, I have no problem with it. But to have one meter hold up a whole city, that's ridiculous. Just
Steve, the other option we could do too is we're coming into the season now where we could actually turn the water off. There's a lot of communities that do that, and I've worked for them. You turn their water off. I've had more than one occasion they come out with a check while you're turning the valve.
All right, so Dave, let me see, what is your take on that, Dave?
Mr. Mayor, that would be correct. The next thing that we would do would be to issue the fine and or turn off the water.
Okay, all right. So let's make this this known to this individual that we're taking this very seriously, that we're not going to play a game here all summer waiting for this meter to be changed. It's going to be changed on a date that's conducive to him and us, and that date better be done. Otherwise, it's a fine or a shut off, one or the other.
We'll take care of it.
Okay, because I mean, we've been doing this for well over a year now, and this is just insane here that it comes down to one individual. Jeez, man, get off. I could say it nastier, but I'm not going to say S and get off the pot. But for Christ's sake, just get the meter changed would be nice. There are more important things to discuss than that water meter. Anyway, okay, well, thank you, everybody. Moving on to fire department monthly report. Dave?
Mayor and council, since I seem to be catching the mayor in the good mood after that, I have for you our February monthly comparison report, the standard format that we've been using for the past year. As you can see, we did have an overall reduction of response times in February of 2021 from 21 seconds from the previous year, although we did fall a little bit short of our goal of 10-minute response times. I am pleased to report a reduction overall. Calls were up again in February. This is a pattern that we have seen since about July of last year, the increasing volumes with 44 total responses for the month of February. Following along to the next page, our staffing remains stable, up just a small percentage point from 2020 from 7.4 to 7.5 firefighters on average per response. We continue to see kind of that delineation between fire and EMS runs, where half of our run volume is on the fire side compared to the EMS side. So that's been remaining relatively consistent throughout our history. We did see a high number of variance usage on our EMS calls for the month of February. Of note, I'm happy to report again that we only flagged one response for the month of February as a COVID potential case. So we have seen that steadily decline in our responses since November of last year, which is where we really saw those COVID cases or suspected COVID cases peak. And again, our inspection program continues to move along. We focused our inspection efforts in February on city buildings, so City Hall, Public Works, Police Department, Fire Department even got a fire inspection. So we continue to build that program as we move forward. And as always, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Hopefully you all saw not only the NIXL, but the council notification. Unfortunately, we did have a structure fire Saturday night within the city. And I would be remiss to not mention the fact that a number of great compliments from our staff, and not just our staff, but the work that the police department did at this particular event. So not only kudos to the fire department staff, but tremendous kudos to Todd's staff as well for our partnership and in coming to a much better resolution at this event than what potentially could have happened. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
All right, well, thank you, Dave. I just want to say, I'm so glad that NIXL's working out, because it really, I got that notice and all that. It showed when it was closed to stay away from it, so not hamper your activities to get it solved. And then letting us know that it's opened up and ready to be used again. I think NIXL's been since we started promoting and pushing and all that, I think it's been one great plus for all of us. It's a good tool. I want to say to you, Dave, that once again, I'm glad there's not as many fires as your report shows, and that this EMS, what you brought here to this city with the EMS services and the training that you've done with all your staff and all that is such a difference here. And I want to remind staff again what I was told at an Anoka Fire Protection Council meeting, that ambulances are not stationary. They roam during the day. So if you have a fire and they're in Blaine as they're roaming around, or they left your city and now are in another city, and then you have a fire, that ambulance has to get back to you. In the meantime, Dave's staff is the difference between life and death in a lot of ways. So that kudos to you. I understand in one recent off-week memo that Joe Lawrence, our assistant chief, just finished all his training for EMS, as I recall from that what I wrote. So he's finally certified fully and all that. But you have brought that to other members of your staff. So really, like I say, rather than seeing 30 fires and 14 EMS, I'm glad it's the EMS that we're seeing. But you have positioned this fire department to take this on and do it well, and that to me is really worth commenting on, because again, seconds and minutes matter before that ambulance gets there. You're already treating that person as you did in one recent situation, but you really created another level of service from our fire department, not just fires. And I think that's the way of the future too, by the way, is more EMS getting involved with it. So I see a real, we're for one of the few times in the city, we're ahead of something instead of behind something. And that really is the mindset that's changed here in the last 4 years with the city being preemptive and proactive. And that's part of our mindset. And I just want to say, comment to you and your staff on that, because saving lives is a good thing, a really good thing. And I commend you on being able to do that, bring that to us, because before you were here, we did not have that ability in a bigger way that we do now. And I'm glad that it's panning out, and you've done really good with that. You brought that here, and I commend you for it. Sarah, I'm going to turn this over to you on your report. Very well, good report too, by the way. Sarah?
Yes, I just want to say, again, good report. Nothing out of the usual, so that's good. But I too just want to make sure that both you and Todd are thanking your staff for, the amount of sirens and the times that, I'm seeing you guys get there. Obviously, the police are even sometimes getting there far before even the ambulance does. And, I just give you guys a lot of credit, and your team lots of credit, because these are not things that I would like to do. I mean, when when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I see the fire truck fly by, I'm thinking, oh, thank goodness I don't have to get out of bed. So just their willingness to constantly serve our community is just very upstanding.
Thank you.
Kevin, your comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Now, you stated it well. I was going to comment on the EMS portion as well. And again, I'm grateful for that. It's another dynamic that this city has that other cities wish they had. So without making the chief's helmet size any larger, good job. Great report. Appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah, I think Kevin stated it proper, that it gives us a whole other dimension or dynamic in our fire department that we didn't have before. And I think that's really a plus to this city and anybody around. I mean, that they can get there and make a difference between life and death is a huge deal. So very, very well put. Rob, your comments?
Dave, good report. Do commend your staff and Todd as well. Being in that profession for many, many years, it isn't something that you do for pay. It is for your community. And I would like to, from the city council, commend everyone for their hard work in both departments and the EMS services as a whole. So you do a great job for the city and our residents. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And while I have you on, Dave, can you give us an update on Ramsey, where that's going right now, where you're at with it?
Absolutely. We're making a lot of great progress. We have successfully jumped probably the most difficult hurdle with the pension piece. Pension legislation is moving forward. We do have some legislators that have picked up and sponsored the bill. They will be taking testimony on that bill on Tuesday, tomorrow night. So we hope that will go very smoothly. Certainly for the staff that's transitioning or potentially transitioning from Ramsey to Nelvin, that's a huge component to their financial security and their earned benefit moving forward. We did receive approval from Now Then Council last week. I was in attendance to the Now Then Council meeting. We do have approval now to move forward with the hiring process formally. They also approved a new subset of policies for the future Now Then Fire Department. We're working on scheduling medical and psych evals for the potential staff moving over, and we hope to have this transition formally take place early in April. So a fair amount of bumps in the road and a lot of late nights and several meetings, but we're making steady progress and a lot of reason to be optimistic and excited at this point.
All right, thank you, Dave. And it's good to hear that too, by the way. I'm glad that, so it seems like Now and Then's working well with you at this point in time?
Yes, Now Then staff, the elected officials have been great to work with. Like I said, the most complex, complicated issue that we had to address in a relatively short period of time was the pension legislation piece. And I know Robert had worked on some pension concerns with the fire department here, and he could certainly tell you how complex these issues are, especially when we're dealing with a separation, a forced separation at that. So you have people that have an earned benefit that's no longer going to be available, and making sure that we're securing those funds. And that doesn't necessarily translate into a new pension plan either. So identifying those opportunities has been very labor intensive. And everybody is very passionate about pension funds and where those funds go and making sure that people are whole, and rightly so. But I think through a lot of effort and goodwill and collaboration, we have come up with not only a workable solution, but a solution that I think everybody is walking away from very pleased with. So now that we've gotten that piece situated, and now it's up to the legislators to make the appropriate actions at the state level, we can focus on the things that really matter, which is getting men and women in the door and providing service to the community of Now Then. So again, it's been frustrating at times, without question. But everybody's heart and minds are in the right place. It's been a lot of late nights and late meetings and weekend phone calls and all of those things. But I am very pleased to report that we're ahead of schedule, so to speak, with this project in totality.
All right, very good, Dave. Thank you for the updates. All right, moving on to this last item here. This is a resolution 2021-11, recognition and appreciation of Barb held. I can only say that, Barb, this is your last meeting here, and I don't know what this is going to look like without you. I've always seen you at a meeting, so I mean, I'm gonna have to go through withdrawals, I think, there for a while here as I get used to this. I'm sure you will too, by the way. But I want to thank you for your service, Barb. I said this to you before. Administrations have come and gone, but you've always been here. You know, you are the one stable rock, and we're not going to have that stable rock after April 1. But I want to wish you the best in your future and your new adventures, wherever they may take you. And I hope that you have the health to go along with that. But I want to thank you very much for your service to the city. Hopefully we'll get someone in that position that will continue with what you've done with it and all that. But your job with elections and everything else you've done, and as you told me, you took jobs on that no one else wanted, but you took them on very well, by the way. But I know for me, I've gotten used to you, so it's like now I'm going to have to get unused to you. So I guess it's one of those things in life. Not everything does change in time, and but I really want to wish you the best. I mean, you're healthy now, and I hope that health stays with you, and I hope you enjoy your retirement. You've earned it, and I just wish the best for you. So thank you for everything you've done. So I want everyone at council to comment on this too, by the way, because this is, I mean, 37 years is a long time with the city here, and you've seen the city go from the beginning to where it is today, and you've worked with a lot of administrations, so you've seen the changes happening. But you've been like I think I told you when I was signing some docs that I don't think there's any file in a file cabinet without your name on it someplace. It's got to be someplace in there. So anyway, Sarah, let me turn this over for your comments on this.
Okay, first of all, I propose that we just get one of those big head cutouts of Barb for a while, because we all need time to transition. So we'll just put her face on there, and that way we won't feel so lost. And also, a I have feelings for the new person because I think they're going to hear a lot of, that's not how Barb did it. Barb would have done it for me. Barb would already had that done because, you know, Barb could just do it all. So I'm very appreciative of all the help that you've been to me through the process of being more involved with the community and just always being willing to explain things. I really appreciated that. And just, you know, we knew that if Barb was there, it was okay. We weren't going to fall apart. So I do wish you the best of luck. Enjoy. You've more than earned it. So congratulations. And that there's just not enough thank yous out there for you, Barb.
Guys. Rob, your comments?
Barb, thank you for all of your years of service. Every time I come into the city to see your smiling face and ready to answer all my questions, I will miss. Have to have something wrong with you to stay around the job for 37 years. I like to make humor about it, but I'm getting close to 20 on mine, and I don't think I'll go to 37 anywhere else in mine, but it is amazing. It's a feat not many people do in their career, and you've made St. Francis better year after year after year. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Rob. Kevin, your comments?
You bet. Yeah, what can you say that's gonna yet to be said? First of all, Barb, I want to offer myself up as your publicist and your manager because I would like to bankroll the book of your tell-all memoirs. And I think it'll sell about 7,800 copies or however many people are in St. Francis and live left. But so we'll work on that book deal pretty quick. But no, 37 years is a long haul, and you've done a good job. And if anybody's been in your office and seen what you have going on, I'm probably dating myself, but they used to call them Chinese plate spinners, and they would get plates going on a stick about 25 at once. That's what you got going on. You have a lot of stuff going on. So the person that's taking over some of your tasks, if not the majority of your tasks, will have their hands full. But yep, 37 years is a good run, and you've done an awesome job for the city. And so many things, like the mayor said, you took on tasks when other people either couldn't or didn't, and you go, oh, okay, I'll take another one. So your bag of rocks got bigger every time. So you're a good person and a good soul, and I hope you enjoy your time after this time. So we'll just call this Plan A-1. So God bless you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Been a
you.
wild ride, and I wish I would have kept memoirs, but I didn't. So, and you're right, I could have written a book.
You still can.
Yeah, I don't know if I probably should.
But think about this: no more meetings, no more minutes. Those are the plus sides of it, especially with the mayor that talks fast. So you won't have to deal with that anymore. And but I'm just saying, you know, once again, Barb, you've been a real plus to the city. And you know, my wife has worked for her company for 31 years. My guy, you're 37 years. I mean, really, kudos to you that you've survived that long with all the stuff you had to survive with. But you made it, and you made it to that finish line. So I just wish the best for you. Just help stay healthy, stay safe, and enjoy every day of the rest of your life.
I will. I appreciate it.
And don't forget that you can come in and talk to us whenever you feel like it, or pass on something about your adventures. You might give us a thrill.
Okay. Never know.
The door's always open. All right.
Thank
So
you.
do I have a motion tonight to adopt Resolution 2021-11, recognition and appreciation of our city clerk, Barb Held?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Udvik makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Bauer makes that second. Any further comments? If not, Joe, do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Robinson,
Regretfully, aye.
Councilmember Bauer,
Regretfully, aye.
Councilmember Udvig,
Regretfully, aye.
Mayor Feldman.
Regretfully, aye. Thank you again, Barb. All right, council member reports. All right, council member reports. Let's start with Rob on that. Anything you have to say, Rob?
I don't have anything really to report. Stay safe. The only thing I can say is our employment had a very big spike in COVID. So stay safe out there, residents and staff. Have a great week.
Okay, Sarah?
Let's see here. I have, on Thursday of this week, at 6 p.m., I will be viewing the documentary called Angst. We have partnered with a few other districts, and we get to watch this. And if we like what's in it, we plan to use it as part of our next mental health forum, which I also have a meeting for that next Tuesday. So, and then the only other thing is, I know Joe Coleman, Muehlbauer reached out to you, but did we figure out about the meetings and where or why they're not posted or not posted?
Yeah, so I don't, when I was talking to him, I think it's just because we don't have any staff expertise on how to do it. I think if we were going to broadcast these on YouTube, they probably wouldn't be live on YouTube. It was hard. We had to work in conjunction with the school district to get our live meetings live on YouTube. So I don't know what this digital recording, how we would do it. So I think we could, you know, this week sometime figure out how to upload this video for viewing on YouTube. But after the fact, going forward, it's probably would take us some time to figure out how to get it to be broadcast as a Zoom meeting live.
I think it was more about being able to watch it after the fact. That, you know, so I just wanted to make sure that that's getting addressed, because we know that's always a hot spot with our residents. And I told a couple of people who talked to me, like at County Market, and I just said, you know, we're revamping our website. Things can get missed, and things can get, they think got on and didn't get on, or whatever. So I just wanted to make sure that it's going to be taken care of, and our residents can watch our meetings later.
We will look into that this week and try and get it up there.
All right, thank you, Sarah. I will say that the upgrades to the website have been working out very well with the spotlight window and the one-click easiness of it. Really has made a big difference, I think. Kevin, I'm going to turn this over to you, and then when I get to my report, then we'll have Joe talk about his meeting with Oak Grove at that time.
You bet. Nothing really major to report. What the heck was I going to say? Being the liaison to the planning and zoning, it's nice to have a sneak peek at upcoming stuff. Kate should be giddy as a schoolgirl, because there's some exciting things with major potential that can come to our city. So that being said, there'll be more news coming down the pike, but it should be an exciting Wednesday night at planning and zoning. So other than that, everybody, again, like Rob said, everybody be safe. Don't let your guard down, but don't be fearful either. I mean, it's a big wide world out there. Use smart choices, and still there's plenty of time to embrace life. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Kevin. I just want to tell everybody, I think I mentioned earlier that I have gotten the first shot of the vaccine. It's the Moderna vaccine that I got, and I got a second one on April 6th. But just to let people know, some of the side effects that I had was a sore arm, which is pretty much common. Any shot I got, anytime I've gotten a flu shot, I had a sore arm. This one lasted a couple of days. I also had a little swelling in my glands in my throat that went away after a day, and then I had just some joint aches, which were nothing major. In other words, out of 48 hours, I mean, I felt some stuff. I was tired the first day, but nothing major. So just to let people know that was the Moderna. Of course, there's Pfizer out there, and then there's Johnson & Johnson. But I'm hoping that people, once they're notified, will get the shots and hopefully help put this thing to rest finally in our lives, and we can get back to a normal day of no mask and being able to talk to people face to face, which would be really nice. I think everybody's craving for that. So I just hope it happens sooner than later. But I know one thing, as I mentioned multiple times here, it takes everybody working together at city levels, state levels, country level, whatever. All of us, we have to work together as Americans and put this past us. It's the only way it's going to happen. So I just hope people, and I see, by the way, that every once in a while I'll go into a store and see someone with not a face mask on, but the majority of people are wearing them, taking this seriously, and I appreciate that really a lot. I know, for instance, tomorrow I'm taking a contractor's education course, and I'm doing it on Zoom. I just had chemo last week, so I'm not taking a chance, and I'm going to do it on Zoom, 7 hours. So if anybody wants to contact me, do it in late afternoon because I'll be studying. But I'm taking the precaution of taking it seriously, as I hope everyone else does, until we know we've beaten this thing, and I know we can. So I want to thank you for just bringing that to everybody's attention, rather. So, and Joe, now it's your turn to enlighten us on Poppy Street and Oak Grove.
So I did have a chance to meet with the Oak Grove City Council last week. I kind of gave them the same PowerPoint pretty much that I had given them the last time. I heard the same kind of retort from them that they can do it for tens of thousands of dollars and much less. And I had to remind them that no, they cannot, because we have to sign off on it. So we're at a stalemate here. So that's not a realistic option. I outlined the safety concerns with the school and kids going to and from school. And some of the savings that they would have in right-of-way acquisition if they were to put curb in versus keeping it a ditch, so that they could use MSA funds for it as opposed to local tax funds. And we kind of talked about all kinds of fun stuff. They did agree to have Chuck look at his future projects coming up and bring a report back for the next city council meeting, which I'm thinking is next Monday. And they were going to try and come towards making a decision. I don't know if I'll be in attendance. I offered to attend if they would like me to, but they said they would bring it back to the next meeting with their discussions with their engineer and city administrator, and we'll kind of see where it goes. Hopefully we'll know more next week. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Now, Joe, why would they want you there? Because you're going to bring facts and the truth. I don't know that they want to hear that. So, just if you don't feel it's worth your time, I understand.
Well, you know what gets me, by the way, is, and I live on Poppy, but we're only talking a section from 227 north to just before the bank, because part of the bank area was redone during a roundabout change. So it's not even all the way to Bridge Street. It stops before that. So, and this to be done right. I mean, the way I look at it like this, and I was talking to Joe about this, is seal cracking and seal coating and seal crack, crack filling rather. That has to be done every 5 to 10 years, 5 years range, 10-year range or whatever. And then full reconstruction lasts maybe every 20 years or whatever. My point being is, if you have road programs in place like what we did, and Joel Coleman, again, hats off to him for bringing that to our attention to put that in place. But what that does is we are able to schedule roads. And as roads we've done today, 20 years from now, some of those roads will be done today. The ones that were reconstructed will be done again. You're never going to have a season where you don't have road maintenance. I only bring this up because Oak Grove needs to understand that you can't keep kicking the road projects down the road. It doesn't solve anything. You need to take them off your plate and schedule. We are doing that here. Every year we have certain projects in certain areas. We get them done. They're off our plate and the new projects appear. You'll always have road projects in cities. Again, crack filling, seal coating on a shorter time frame than a full reconstruct. But if you do it right, every 5-10 years you'll do one crack filling rather, and seal coating, and every 20 years you'll do reconstruction. But once again, even the roads you touched here now will be done in 20 years from now. In other words, it's not something you do and never has to be done again. There's always going to be road problems. We understand that, and we took an effort to make a change to that. We schedule. We are able to fund the program that we're doing, and we have MSA funds in place. Oak Grove has over $600,000 in MSA funds. They have the money to do this, but they choose to keep kicking the can down the road. And I have become very frustrated with this. I commend Joe and Craig and Kevin that have gone to their meetings, but I'm going to tell you something. I waited patiently until a majority change happened. I've been told that majority change didn't work well here in this last meeting. So I'm trying to understand why they can't work on the one road we share in common, the one road. There's no other road we share in common except Poppy Street, and we're only asking for a portion of Poppy to do it right and be done with it. I live on this road. A sidewalk on this road is going to be very much of a safety benefit. When I walk the mailbox, I'm constantly looking left and right, back and forth, north and south and all that, because the cars coming back and coming fast and all that. Something has to be done here, but the road alone is in bad shape, and pouring any money into it with crack filling or seal coating is a waste of money. So for them to only want to spend $50,000 and have us take the cost on to our people, I am not for shoving any more costs on our people. We'll eat our fair share, but they have to eat their fair share. And they have to start learning to work as a sister city with us, which is what we're doing with them. We help them out. You know, I was also talking to Joe Coleman that maybe we should have done differently with the wastewater and let them try to do their own facility. Maybe they would have realized how much we really saved them. But what we did was we helped the residents in the ponds and did the right thing for them. But I can only tell you something. I think Barb said to me one time, it seems like Oak Grove only does what benefits them, and that's how they do it. And I happen to agree with that 100%. Well, we're not going to pay, in my opinion, we shouldn't be paying for Oak Grove's end. They have to pay for their end. It's mutually beneficial and shared costs. And if they want to work with us in the future, then work with us on this road and let's put it past us and get it done this year. I'm hoping they'll see the light here. But as I went to a DNR meeting with Joe Coleman about the variance, he was pessimistic and I was optimistic. He was right and I was wrong. Well, I'm pessimistic now and he's optimistic. So let's hope he's right in this one here. Because right now, if they don't come along with this Poppy Street, my whole attitude towards Oak Grove, I can tell you on record, will change. Because I am tired and fed up of trying to make things work with them when we bend over backwards and nothing ever gets done except if it's on their terms. And we just can't work like that. It's got to be mutually beneficial and shared costs. The possibilities with joint power agreements and regionalization of our wastewater plant for their commercial base to grow now and then, and everything else I've said in numerous meetings before, the potential is right there. Just see the light and work with us. We're not that hard to work with. We really aren't. But we need to talk about it. And I just hope that they'll open this next Monday and put this on their docket, because what I see here, and I think Kevin's alluded to this before, I know I talked to Mike Wiley about this before and he acknowledged it, kicking the projects down the road doesn't accomplish anything. You have to solve them. You have to schedule them properly and get them off your plate, because there'll be another project to take its place. I just hope they see the light to that, but they have the money. I was told that one member said that they're concerned about spending tax dollars. They're not increasing their tax base to pay for this. It's MSA money. Municipal state aid program, and the money is there. So take care of it and work with us so we can open up the door to working better and longer term and benefit both cities and our residents in both cities. I hope someone from them is listening to us, because that's why I'm saying this right now. And if they want to look at our video, can see it like this, let's start working together, because this one road should not be the blockade or blockage for us any future working with us. It just doesn't make sense on the only road we truly share together. Just frustrates the heck out of me. I've lived on this road since, for 7 years now, and I see how bad it is. It needs to be done, but it needs to be done right. If we let them only do it half-fast and we do it full, we'll end up having to do it twice to their once. That doesn't make sense. Any comments on this one issue from anyone on council on this at all? Any comments? Maybe you're as frustrated as I am. Well, Joe, hats off to you to go to this next meeting if you wish, because I mean, I think after that, we're not going to pay hazardous duty pay for you going anymore. We just would say, don't go. I just hope they open their eyes up and see that this is more ridiculous to hold off on. Just let's get it done. I walk it every day, and I'm telling you, it's in bad shape. Needs to be done, and we're willing to take more on, because we'll put the sidewalk on our side. We're also going to correct that hourglass in the piping. We're taking more on, and we're willing to do that, but we're not going to take their end on and tag it to our residents. That's not fair, right? It's just not. To take another $125,000 and put it on the backs of our taxpayers, that's just wrong. So I hope they acknowledge, see the reasoning behind everything like that. They're not increasing their tax base to do this. They have the money. Kevin, your response? Comments?
Well, kind of tongue in cheek, Mayor, but I don't know how much rapport you have with your neighbors, but what if we show force? I'll go knock doors with you and we could put our masks on and get the neighbors that whole line side up there. And I know the 4 people on the Oak Grove side really don't give a rat's toot what takes place, but what if we got get some people down there at the next meeting, some of your neighbors?
Well, I did that once when I was trying to get a stop sign, Kevin, on 227th and Poppy, and the comment and the response I got from Oak Grove was, well, that's 2 people live in the same house. That should just be one petition signing. And I said, well, they're both tagged. I mean, the stuff I got from them was so off base. It was like a waste of time. Then I had someone on their council, and I won't mention the name because he's no longer on the council, but I'll say that he said to me, well, if we put a stop sign in, we could never take it back. And I thought, what do you have it knotted on the bottom side of the planet? Is a nut on it? You can't release it. I mean, I said to him, we'll pay for the sign. We'll put it in. We'll take it out if it doesn't work. Oh, you can't do that. And I had someone else comment to us, well, you should just get a front end loader and park it on 225th and Lake George Boulevard to stop traffic from going through. That's the kind of response we get from them. So our people are for this. They want it done. They want it done right. I don't know what else you could send to them, because like I say, again, I was told that one of the individuals on their council said that they don't want to increase taxes to do Poppy Streets. They don't want to take any money from other projects that they've done by doing Poppy Street. This is a road that was shared. That's why it's MSA, and share with their people who use it to go to our school, use it to go to our retail and all that. They use it as much as our people do. So it's just the right thing to do is to do it and get it done. That's the right thing to do. We're
Well,
taking.
it's my understanding they have their own asphalt tsunami heading their way in the next 3 to 4 years, and they have not prepared for it. So that could be in the underlying, underpinnings of what they're thinking about. But I'm very disappointed, and it shows you the lack of common sense and common reasoning that might be. I didn't figure it was that much through their council, but very disappointing indeed.
Yeah, and I would say to that, Kevin, that yeah, as you're saying, I mean, they have kicked the can down so many times down the road here and pushed it down that now it's going to all catch up to them. It's like the ant and the grasshopper fable. It's going to happen sooner or later. And where we took it on, where the past council before us, when Joe Coleman brought up the road program, just discussed it and then pushed it aside, we enacted it. And it was the right thing to do for the betterment of our city. And we got rid of assessments on road overlays and that. I think this was a really good thing here. So we've taken the right course of action. I just was hoping they would too, by the way. But I can just tell you once again, as I'll go on record here and say, that if they don't come across all this on Poppy Street, any future business that they desire or require from us, I will look at it from a whole different perspective. I can tell you that, as long as I'm sitting in the seats, because I am just fed up with. I just hate to see somebody get killed walking to the mailbox because we don't have a sidewalk in place on a road that is dangerous. I live here and I know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm hoping that they'll come across. I hope so. But like I say, again, they're worried about tax dollars. They're not spending tax dollars. Everyone in the state, through our tax dollars, pays into the municipal state aid program, along with local government aid. It's there to be utilized. I hope that they will understand that and get it done. Any comments, Rob? Do you have any comments on this at all?
No.
All right.
Not at all.
Sarah, yours?
I'm just as frustrated.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm done with words with Oak Grove.
All I know is when they needed us for the wastewater problem that they had, we came forth and helped them out. And like I say, again, if we hadn't helped them out, they would have been millions in the hole dealing with what they've got. But they don't understand that because we saved their ass. And all I can say is that we were willing to do that for the betterment of their 220 residents. But at the end of the day, you just got to say to yourself, if they're not going to reciprocate, then why should we reciprocate? I don't want to be like that because our
we get a plane to fly a banner over, bring recognition. Fix Poppy. Fix Poppy.
Well, I know in campaign, I've heard in the past from residents on both sides that they wonder why we don't work as sister cities. Well, we are trying, okay? I mean, the biggest thing on their plate is that stupid sign on 9, welcome to St. Francis. All I can tell you is when you're at that point on 9, going into the cities, you go left to St. Francis, right at the roundabout into Oak Grove. A sign should not make the difference of what city's better than the other. That sign was put in place well before we came in administration. It was done on private land and all that. But one of their members makes a big deal about it. It's just a sign. I don't care if it says Oak Grove. I don't care if it says St. Francis. But what I do care about is starting to work together so we can benefit the residents we serve. That's the key. I just hope they're listening in. I hope that message gets across. Once again, thanks, Joe. Thank Kevin. Thank Craig Yoakum. Thank everybody who attended the meetings. I just know I can't go because I'll tell them what I really feel. And you don't want to get that on record. I can trust me. You don't want to get that on record. Or maybe you do. And if you do, let me know. I'll show up with bells up. All right. Any other business here that we have to attend to, Joe? Once again, thank you to our frontline workers, our police and our fire and public works out there doing the job you're doing out in that front line. You've gotten us through a hell of a mess. We have farther to go, but without you guys, all staff, all department heads on the community development, Kate's doing her job. I mean, we're under a growth spurt here in our second round of growth, and we're taking advantage of it. So I just want to commend everybody, again, from administration to community development to public works to police to fire. Thanks for all your work. I don't know if we ever say it enough, but we do, all of us do appreciate the heck out of it. Thank you, and thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy. Legal too, by the way. Thank you, Dave. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy, like I said. With no future business, I'm going to adjourn this meeting on Monday, March 15th at 8:14. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.